goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Our publications documented their involvement at a case-by-case level in the deaths of more than 20,000 people in Afghanistan and more than 108,000 people in Iraq. And so when you want to distract from this, you just make the same accusation to the person that is making accusation against.
There does appear to be evidence of war crimes in this material. An example is the Task Force 373 HIMARS missile strike on a house which killed 7 children.
NATO later recognized the children's deaths they had caused, but said that initially they had no idea they were there. The colossal price Americans' taxpayers paid, the needless suffering caused, the fall of a corrupt, failed state. Why did all this continue for so long? One answer is gigantic profits for giants of the military-industrial complex. With stock returns from 2001 to 2021 for government-contracted companies like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman totaling more than 1,000%.
What is happening, dear brothers and sisters, is that a vicious game has been played. It's already been played, it's already done. A vicious game has been played, the game of war. And it was a game that was done not for religion, not for human rights, not for women's rights, not to free women from the burqa, not even for democracy, not even for Western civilization. All of this is not correct. No, this game was played because of money. Simple as that. Greed for money. In a nutshell, very briefly so that we understand, in a nutshell, our country of America raises almost $3.5 trillion in taxes annually. Do you know how much a trillion is? Do you know how much a trillion is? A trillion is a million millions. A trillion is a million millions. It's just words. Our minds go blank. We can't even envision how much is a trillion. There is no trillionaire yet on earth. This government raises $3.5 trillion every single year in taxes. Now, that is a huge pile of money. People are greedy for that money. Politicians who control, they can't just dig into that money and put it into their pockets. That would be blatant stealing. They can't do that. So what do? Greedy politicians figure out a way how to tap into that massive treasure chest of $3.5 trillion. What do? One of the tactics that has worked very well for the last few decades is to declare war on a country. War is profitable for some groups of people. It comes at a cost. Some people die, lots of people die, but some people become very, very wealthy. War is profitable for thousands of politicians and thousands of companies. Why? Because when you go to war, what happens? The government has to purchase weapons. It has to purchase bedding and material and cloth. It has to purchase food. It has to purchase everything. So the government has to enact the government has to make purchases from private corporations that are producing for the government. And these corporations are going to supply the military and to supply the contractors in the countries that are being invaded. And of course, they're going to overcharge. This is well known. The contractors have no oversight. It's going to overcharge. So, well known, there was an article about some of the examples of overcharging. For example, a screw might cost 20 cents, and the contractor will charge the government $20 for a nail. You know, a nail you will get in your local store for 20 cents, the contractor will charge $20 for that particular nail. What's going to happen? The government writes checks for millions of dollars to these corporations, and lots of people become very wealthy. When they become wealthy, they will reward the politicians who made them wealthy. as well. The politicians have direct contacts with the corporations. So the politicians become wealthy directly by making those corporations wealthy. And perhaps the most obvious and blatant example was our former Vice President Cheney himself, who was the chairman and CEO of Halliburton from 1995 to 2000. Do you know our Vice President, Dick Cheney, had a severance package from Halliburton that was close to $36 million. $36 million he was awarded when he went into the government service. And then what happened? He declared war on Iraq, and Halliburton was awarded a $7 billion contract in which only Halliburton had the right to bid for that contract. One man bid, one show. It bid and it got it, and no questions asked. Do you not see what is going on here? The politician gets rich and the company he works for gets rich, and where does that money come from? From my taxes and your taxes. So the fact of the matter is, those who vote for war don't care about human rights. They don't care about the burqa. They don't care about democracy. They don't even care about American lives or Iraqi lives or Afghani lives. They care about money. And the tactic to go to war is to access that money and put it into their pockets and the pockets of their constituents. But see, there's one problem. It's a big problem. That money has to be justified to the people who gave it. That's me and you. That's the taxpayers. How do you justify the people paying that money? Because in the end of the day, if you don't justify, then the people who gave that money will vote you out of office, because you're not spending that money for my children's school. You're not spending that money for healthcare. Healthcare is still not free. You're not spending that money for inner cities. We have so many problems in this country, and we are spending trillions of dollars in war. $6 trillion were spent in our false invasions of Iraq and Afghanistan in the last 20 years. $6 trillion. Can you imagine if that money were to be spent over here? This is where the narrative is created. The story is drawn and the lie is sold. One of the greatest political thinkers of our times, Noam Chomsky, he calls this manufactured consent. You manufacture consent. People think that they are giving you consent, but it is not real consent. What is the narrative or the lie that is created? You see the guy working in the factory, who's paying his taxes, working 9 to 5, whose son is going to join the army. You can't tell the factory worker that you're going to war to make his boss rich while he remains where he is, because the middle class doesn't gain at all. It's only the rich that gains, the CEOs, is the business owners. You can't tell the factory worker that he's going to send his kid to die in a war so that his boss gets rich. That's not the lie you can sell the factory worker. So what do? You tell that honest, hard-working worker that you're the good guy. You're a nice person. You're a patriot. And those guys over there, they speak a different language. They dress different than you. They're the bad guys. They're going to kill you. They're all terrorists. You defame them. You dehumanize them. You make their religion look evil. You make fun of their practices, their cultures, their holy book, their sharia, and even their prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You frighten your own people by creating a monster out of those people, a bogeyman. And when they're frightened, they're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You come along as the politician, as the government, you say, don't worry, I shall protect you. The same person who created the myth of the enemy and made you into an innocent, patriot, that same person will say, don't worry, I shall defend you. Just allow me to do with your taxes as I please. Your son shall go and he shall fight not on behalf of the CEOs, for his country. He's not fighting for his country, he's fighting for the rich. He shall fight for his country. When the son comes back in a casket, he shall be given false honors and a medal and a flag and whatnot, and the innocent worker will feel proud, my son died for my country. He didn't die for the country. Those people that were killed in those lands would never have hurt or harmed you. They don't even know of your existence. But the profit has gone, the profits, meaning the money, has gone to the CEOs. So you create this narrative. What is the narrative? Those guys are evil. They mistreat their women. They're barbaric. Sharia is bad. They're going to behead. They're going to put the burqa. We have to save those women. You create this myth. They don't care about human rights. What human rights are they caring about when their own bombs have killed 100,000 people? What women's rights are they caring about when their own troops have plundered and raped? So please spare me this drama of pretending to care about human rights and women's rights. But you see, unfortunately, us Muslims, we're also absorbing the same media. And so many of us fall prey to the same lies as well. And many of us start thinking the same way. Oh, those poor people and human rights and whatnot. And as I said in the beginning of this point, at some level, I too am concerned about some of these groups and how they're going to do that. But my concern is stemming from a very, very different paradigm. I'm not going to be a pawn in a game that is based on hedonistic, capitalistic, neocon principles. And even if I have my concerns, they're coming from a faith-based to another faith-based, and not because of a capitalist agenda that wishes to paint a picture that is very different than reality. That before you jump on this bandwagon of questioning, question the questions. Ask yourself, where are these questions coming from? Ask yourself, why are you being spoon-fed these questions at this point in time by a very group that has gone against the principles that they claim to be defending?